That's super nice. We're doing a client event there.
Well, then you can direct where we need to go.
Oh, we wouldn't go to Kennesaw, it's too far. I drive enough during the week to Kennesaw.
Well, what'd you say the other one was, Powers Ferry?
I think it's Powers First called the Governor's Club. I'm a member of one, well, by default, one in Sandy Springs closed. So their sister store in Norcross, I keep going in and they never question that. I show them my Sandy Springs and they go, whatever, you know, they never.
Well, when we went to the one on South Cobb Drive, they made us sit and watch a video before we were able to shoot, and they gave us this little card that said we'd watch the safety, it's just like a safety video.
Yeah. That's part. Let me see where that one is, called the Governor's Club. No, it's really nice, it's just far. Let me look up here. I'm open for whatever. Hunter's gonna be gone. He's going on a scout trip.
Yeah, they're based out.
Yeah, he was part of the structure.
Okay, let's see what this thing is here.
Yeah, Clyde was, here was.
It's on Powder Springs. It's James Parkway at Powder Springs. Where's Powder Springs?
It's like West Cobb, that area.
Is that closer to us? That's closer to Kennesaw.
Yeah, it's probably closer to Kennesaw than it is to us.
Well, the place you went to is probably the best place to go.
Probably so. I mean, it's just right off, you know, so you,
That was the year that you could.
yeah, it's just like right on South Cobb Drive, not too far probably from where 85 or 285.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that's north of Douglasville, east of Marietta, on the way to Rock
West of
Mart.
Marietta.
West of Marietta, yeah.
That's funny.
No, I don't want to do that. Too far.
I can't. You know what, actually, I took a picture of this thing because they said, suggested that.
You can pull up this place, you can see this thing, it's pretty impressive.
Sure.
Well, it seems to be simplified.
Mr. Danhoff. Morning, Chuck. Good.
Hey, Mr. Danhoff.
I have a trust.
So,
In my will, I don't know what money, but I think trust my will, is just to keep creditors.
oh, it's a gunnery, yeah. This thing up in Kennesaw is 35,000 square feet. They've got an indoor, skeet shooting.
Oh, really?
Indoor ski shooting.
Indoor. And they have 32 indoor pistol and rifle lanes. And they got a restaurant on the top floor. We're doing a client event there. It's near our office.
Is it in Emerson near that?
No, it's in Kennesaw.
Governor's Gun Club.
Well, there's one in Powder Springs, but I don't, this is evidently their sister store.
Oh, is that Governor's?
Yeah, have you been there?
No, but I've seen the billboards driving up 75. I wonder.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We're about a half a mile from it, and we actually, we sold them some things and got a membership. But it's super nice. I mean, it's really nice. And they have a bar, so don't you wanna
Which always goes well with gunplay.
and then gun, so, yeah.
Well, there's a guy that I went to high school with, and he was also a fraternity brother of mine in Georgia, and he lives out in Arizona now. He and some partners started a place called Modern Round, and it is patterned on Topgolf, but it's with guns.
Oh, wow.
And so, I'm assuming, I don't know if you get real bullets or not, maybe you do, but it's like but you like eat and drink or whatever.
That top round, that's probably a pretty good idea.
Modern Round.
Modern round.
Well, that's not unusual, that's not unusual.
And I know they've got one in Arizona, and I know he was talking about doing one in Dallas, and then maybe ultimately in Atlanta. I actually connected it with Brad Pope a couple of years ago to try to find him some space.
Oh, really? He was trying to expand out? That'd be super nice. That's cool. What are you up to?
So that really first.
You're racing in Birmingham?
Not much.
No?
I'm going a couple days next month.
So what's, cycling out of it or just?
No, I've tried to toe hold.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like my Uber,
Yeah.
side gig.
Hey, I didn't mean to grab your seat.
Yes, you did.
I just
wanted to round out the room a little bit.
Yeah, no, we always sit on that side.
Closer to coffee.
It wasn't me today.
Well, you know, Eric texted me and told me he wasn't gonna be here, but he did not ask me to get coffee.
You're usually annoying somebody.
Yeah.
He usually annoys somebody.
There's
And they
Kelly.
misinterpret the time, how much time it takes.
No.
You always have to call these people. Well,
I talked to the Dancing Goats guys across the street, and they open at 6:30, but they have the things.
Oh, God.
Thomas,
No, I'm sorry about it.
they're driving their own
in-laws changed their television cable, I got a text, so that's 3 hours of education. Now we don't have TV in the bedroom. Hell. It's just,
My parents are the ones that still have the piece of tape over their clock.
I had that for a while, I'm like tired of it.
Now, I can't really criticize somebody, I've got a,
Yeah.
what do you call it, little blocks that you plug your
Yeah.
stuff into in the wall? And I bought one that's like multiple, and it's got blue light on it, so I had to put a bit of duct tape over things, because when the room's dark, it's like lighting the whole room up.
Our AT&T U-verse box, I put a sock in front of it, because it literally lights up the entire room. It's amazing how much that lights up. So you're out of the car wash business, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that was a Cleve, right?
He's still there.
So was the goal Cleve has, he wants multiple ones? It's gotta be a big business.
He would like multiple ones. He's not going to achieve that. The one keeps him busy.
Does it? So there's one on Roswell Road right at Abernathy. Touchless. I think I told you about that one, have you?
Yeah, been there, Sandy Springs one.
Yeah, it's in Sandy Springs. And we pay extra for the lava. Tell me it works.
It does, yeah, it works with the owner.
Yeah.
But everything you pay extra for is, there's benefit.
Yeah.
It gives you a little extra protection.
She's asking.
Hey, guys, excuse me. I don't know if, I don't know that the coffee is not coming, but I guess we can go ahead and get going. If it comes, we'll pause if we need
No
to.
such thing as starting the morning without coffee.
I know.
Yeah. I was just telling John, Eric texted me yesterday, and I knew he wasn't gonna be here, but he didn't ask me to pick it up, so I thought
Yeah,
he
didn't
might have
text
got
me.
Kelly or somebody to
May
get
have had
it.
somebody else.
Chester is going to transfer the prayer this morning, so would anybody like to open us up? John, will you do it?
Yes.
Thanks.
Heavenly Father, thank you so much for allowing us to gather freely here to worship you and hear your word. Open our hearts and minds. In Jesus' name, amen.
So I know, I guess last month, and I wasn't here, but I know Neil kind of did a session where everybody sort of went around and said what this group means to you. And so for those of us who were not here that day, you know, maybe you can share that with the group. But otherwise, what I was sort of thinking, I've had at least one person, or actually more than one person in the group tell me that they've, not really gotten to know the guys as much as they might like to or whatever, because we kind of sit here and listen to Ken and have some interaction about the subject matter of the day, but we don't really know each other, on more of a personal level. So I thought we would take today and just sort of go around and, no more than 2 or 3 minutes and just share anything that you'd like to share with the group. Personal stuff, not personal stuff, or whatever you'd like to do, about family, job, history at this church or another church, history with Ken's group, and if you weren't here, what the group's meant to you or whatever, but just kind of a getting to know you type of session. I mean, and not to put anybody on the spot, but just whatever you would like to say. So I'll go first and we'll just go around the table, but, so I have been coming.
Now, wait, you're gonna start out with your name. Start out with your name, okay. Who is this man?
I am
Who
Chuck
are you,
Waters.
Chuck?
I am Chuck Waters.
Wow.
Um,
I always wondered who.
This is your life.
This is your life.
But I have not come here from the very beginning, but I've been coming here for probably about 11 years, and it was purely happenstance that I started coming to this group because we started CLC at this church 2007 maybe, and one of the introductory CLC meetings we had was right after this group on a Friday morning back in 2007, and I had heard Chris Sullivan, who some of y'all know, talk a lot about the BOA study, and I'd never attended, never really thought about attending, but when I found out that the CLC meeting was going to be right after this, I said, well, that's probably a good occasion for me to just go. So that's what I decided to do, and oddly enough, so this is when we used to have it back up with what they used to call the Hall of the Apostles. So I was walking in the back door of the church, and this guy was kind of walking alongside of me. I had no idea who it was, and I thought he was a church employee, literally. I said, hey, good morning. And he says, good morning, and he comes in and sits down in this spot right here, and it's Ken Boa. And I had never laid eyes on him, never spoken to him, never met him or anything. But so that was kind of that right around 11 years ago, right around this time 11 years ago. That's when I kind of started coming, and I've been coming, ever since. And it's been, and it's meant a lot to me. And Ken's mentoring and friendship and teaching has meant a lot to me, and this group has meant a lot to me, the fellowship, and just, it's kind of a good boost, every Friday morning. So it really has meant a lot to me. And my family has actually attended this church since 1993. My wife and I have been married for 24 years, and we joined, I guess, in August of '93, right as we got engaged. And we didn't get married here. We got married in Valdosta, which is where she's from. But we've been coming here ever since. And our kids have grown up here. Y'all heard me mention last week, I've got a daughter that we just took to college a couple of weeks ago. She's 19, Sarah. And then I've got another 11th grader who's obviously still at home, and she's 16. And I'm a lawyer here in town, and what my practice is, I do a lot of commercial real estate, commercial lending, commercial default work, things of that nature. That's kind of what I do on a day-to-day basis, and been involved in the church, involved in the kids' school for a while, and kind of do stuff like that. And as I've gotten older, I guess I sort of started to kind of fade out of all that kind of stuff a little bit, and turn it over to some of the younger generation. But I guess that's pretty much it. As far as just, as far as what's going on in life right now, as I mentioned, having a kid go off, kind of being part empty nester now, it's a sort of different dynamic in the household, so we're sort of getting used to that, and just, appreciate y'all's continued prayers on that. So, you wanna go?
I guess it's me. My story is similar to Chuck's in the sense of how I met.
Start with your name.
Oh, yeah. He just said John, so, all right, John Coates, let's see, turn-ons, walks on the beach, turn-offs, mean people, I'm a Sagittarius, no, whatever. I don't know where I read that, format. John Coates, my role or my relationship with Ken is similar to Chuck's, in that I was a member of the church and heard about the group and wanted to get involved, and of course, Tom started it, probably 15 years ago. I think I got in maybe 2-3 years into that, so it wasn't in the original. So kind of like the Darren and Bewitched who comes in later. That's what I was. And as far as what I do, I moved to Atlanta in 1992. I'm from South Carolina, and worked in the telecom industry all my life. I wouldn't say it's a calling. I got out of college, went to 3 interviews. One was selling insurance, one was selling food door to door, and the other was with MCI Telecom, and they called me first, so they won the lottery. So that was my choice of my career 30 years later. A lot of thought went into that. Let's see, kids, I've got a son who's in 10th grade, Hunter, and I've got a daughter who's in 8th. And Amy's my wife. I mentioned her a couple times. She's from Atlanta, here over near Emory. As far as what's going on in my life, I took a new role, just mentioned to Stephen this morning, about 2 months ago with a company, and I've been a sales manager before, and I've had my own agency before years ago, and I'm in that role again, and this person's hired me to try to do the day-to-day, and the only challenge, I love it, I can't get enough of it, but the challenging part is I'm kind of used to being a lone gun, so when they talk about things like payroll, I'm like, what's that to me? Oh, it is me. I do care about all that now. Okay. I do care about margin, not just selling it. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah, and I'm thrilled. I'm always, literally always thrilled to come in this room and hear from every one of you and the insight you have, and of course from Ken's insight as well.
All right. I'm David Danhoff. I didn't want any table pounding.
At the shoot, Khrushchev, who's going Khrushchev on it?
Kind of a similar story to these guys, albeit engaged a little bit later. I know these guys from Family Ties Sunday school class. My wife and I have been members here since '98, and similar kids have been brought up here. And I used to come here very regularly, starting about 8 years ago, and then as the kids got older and I became the Sherpa, bringing them to school. During the school year, it was very difficult to get here. So now that my oldest is 16 and driving, now it's freed us up to re-engage, and I'm really appreciative of that. I didn't realize how much I missed it until I re-engaged, and you realize how it really sets off your weekend, I think. Friday's always a great day as a result, but like Chuck and John, I engaged with CLC, and you know, one of the regrets I have in my life, growing up in Michigan in a Christian school, my grandfather was a minister, is I really feel I squandered a lot of learning opportunities that I'm kind of trying to make up for later in life, and when I can absorb it and understand it a great deal more. So that's kind of my path that I've been trying to endeavor for the last decade or so. I'm a commercial real estate broker, been ever since out of school, and kind of similar to John, I just re-engaged after being on my own for a while, and in a player coach role where I have to start dealing with a lot of the stuff I didn't have to deal with before. So it brings on a whole new dynamic of you realize how needy some people can be. But 2 kids, 16-year-old daughter is an 11th grader, and then a 9th grader. So 2 high school girls. So I'm going to be in Chuck's shoes not too long, and it's terrifying. But, that's really about it.
I'm Gary England, and I learned about the class through my Sunday school class here at Peachtree Road, Family Builders. Folks like Ray Seegers have been talking about it. And like David, I had held off because I was Sherpa as well during those times, and it wasn't until the daughter had the driver's license to drive both kids at that point that I was free on Friday mornings to start coming, and that was about 10 years ago. Been coming to, started Peachtree Road just as we were getting our youngest one out of diapers, so it was a little over 20 years ago. Moved to Atlanta in 1981, was in the banking business for 3 decades. And in recent years, I've been managing the business side of a church over in Decatur. Got involved with CLC as well, with that freedom in the mornings. And I've been involved there with a couple of classes. Change for us is that we became complete empty nesters 2 weeks ago to this day. So we are trying to decide what that's going to look like with the extra freedom. For my wife, I think it will probably mean more projects, trying to reorganize the house and declutter and potentially have it ready to sell and let us downsize if we decide to go that route. For me, it means more backpacking. I'm focusing on trying to get out 1 weekend a month on the Appalachian Trail and work my way up. I'm up in Virginia at this point, so over 500 miles in. So really recommend long walks for solitude, serenity, and some good quality quiet time. Guess that's it for me.
Okay.
What I
So do you like once a month, so you drive all the way up to the spot where you kind of stopped last time? Is that basically
Yeah,
what you, okay.
that's what I do. Yeah. I've toyed with the idea of taking the train. I'm starting to get close to the Roanoke, Virginia train station, so I may
Good.
give that a try.
What church here in Decatur do you?
It's Claremont Presbyterian,
Sure.
which is in the Toco Hills
Oh,
area. It's the one that's sort of up on the hill. It's actually the highest point in Decatur.
Gary, you hike alone?
It's a mix. I got involved in Boy Scouts with my son and learned about backpacking through that. So I do have some scouting buddies that will come out with me a couple of times a year, but lots of the time it is alone. But the Appalachian Trail is a very social trail. You meet people in shelters and hostels.
So you adopted a nickname?
I was given one. Wasn't adopted. Unworthy, which started out unworthy of a trail name, but then also had the dual meaning of what we talk about here in our faith walks about gratitude and really being blessed here in Atlanta and having a lot more than we deserve.
My name's Dan Schaefer. My undergraduate, I was engineer in theology, and I didn't practice Christianity for a long time after undergrad. And we got married and think had a kid, so we came back to the church, and this was the church we came to, we lived by here. And my wife told me about the Bible study like 12 times, and eventually I heard. And I came, I don't know, I started coming maybe 10 years ago, 8 years ago. I just am a recovering engineer, so I do a lot of business management consulting, so a lot of weeks I work and a lot of weeks I don't work. I'm a very sporadic, up and down professional career, but now I'm working mostly Sunday to Thursday, and I'm in town to come on Friday. Have 2 daughters, 8 and 12. I don't know, what else were we supposed to say?
Whatever's
Good.
Whatever's on your heart is fine. That's good, that's fine. John?
I'm John Muirhead, and I guess I go to this church, and I saw it in the church bulletin. I kind of came in frequently about 10 years ago, and then my job shifted, so about 8 years ago I could start coming every Friday. So I think I've tried to do that ever since. And I'm married. I've got a 12-year-old boy, a 16-year-old boy, so it's not real quiet. And all the challenges that go along with that, trying to not be a total hypocrite, but do as I say, not as I did. My great wife, Barbara, she supports me, and I'm in sales in the building business, and I have been since probably 1994, and that's kind of what I do. And I'm kind of a hired gun. I'm in outside sales for a couple of different companies. So I really enjoy this class and really enjoy meeting you all.
So I'm Mike Bryan. I was brought to Atlanta with my dad. His move to the Atlanta zone with Chevrolet Motor Corporation. I was 10. It was just before that move that I trusted Christ as my personal Savior and was baptized in a local Baptist church. I grew up in Chamblee, Georgia. Went to schools here and Mercer and Georgia State some time. Got married before I graduated, so I never graduated. And have 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. Oldest is married with my only grandson. My wife Glennis and I made a huge decision after several years and many disappointments to let her leave the workplace. We took 3 years of struggle to transition, learning how to live on what I made as she homeschooled the kids. So she has 3 college graduates. And I worked for 35 years with Fulton County Tax Commissioner's Office after being in the UAW, working with the Parts Division of GM at Doraville. And,
So you were down there with Dr. Ferdinand, huh?
yes, served under 4 different tax commissioners. They basically made me very interested in politics because of the fact that I saw how it impacted people's daily lives at the local level. And my parents had always been very concerned about national matters. Most of my uncles were, including my father, were military people. And so we appreciated the sacrifices that many had made so I could enjoy post-World War II America. And growing up in the 50s, I went through all the stuff of the 60s and was confronted many times with all the evolutionary scenario stuff. So I had to examine my Christianity and its foundations and beliefs and so forth very thoroughly. Fortunately was brought up in a church that was evangelical, active in soul winning, so early on I became tell other people about Christ. And it's a combination of those things that helps me be effective as a campaigner for people as well. So over the last 7 or 8 years since I've been retired, I have been a political activist in varying degrees and served in many different campaigns. I was executive director of the Fulton County GOP for a year for one of their chairmen. And I've been elected to many offices throughout the system and serving right now as the DeKalb County chairman for Joe Profit, who's running for Congress against Hank Johnson. So I stay busy, and thankfully my wife has been terrific on the home front, and it's given me the opportunity to do a lot of things I wouldn't otherwise have been able to do.
Ron?
Ron Pohl. My wife and I moved from Texas to Atlanta in 1990. Actually met her, I was with CB right out of college, and she's 4 years younger than I am. She started interning, so I met her while she was an intern. We got married, moved to Roanoke, Virginia. There was a crash, it's very kind of a common theme. There was a real estate crash in Texas in the late 80s. So we bailed, went to Roanoke. I actually went to Roanoke. She stayed at the house. We got married and ended up in Atlanta. Met Matt Moffett at a party at John Gibson's house. And he told us about the relations class, and we started going there, I think, in 1990, maybe early 91, and joined the church at that time. Been here ever since. I did have I joined CLC, Neil Creech took me to lunch one day and had a great class. Frank was part of that class. It was one of those things that I did it because I knew it would force me to actually do something that I probably wouldn't normally do. That's read the Bible every day and study, and it was a really great experience for me. I mean, if anyone's done it, or a lot of people in the room have, it's a 2-year commitment, but it was well worth that journey that we took. Learned a lot. Like I said, I've been in the development business. We've had the ups, we've had the downs. 8, 9, and 10 were as bad as it could get. We did everything but file bankruptcy, but it's come right back up, and now things are good again. So it's just kind of the roller coaster you're on. It comes with the territory of what we do. I have 2 children. My oldest daughter is Whitney. She went to Georgia. She had her own story. She did not get into Georgia initially after she's a great student and went through this, anyone trying to get into that school right now, it's like she got in. She didn't get in the first round, but her second year, she ended up going to a theater school, straight A's, never made below an A- her entire college career. It shows you how tough that is to get in. She was a cheerleader. She got her master's. She now wants to get her doctorate. She works with children that have autism, asthma, and so God bless her, she's going to save the world. My son just graduated. He now just started a job last week with HFF. He's living at home right now, which is perfectly fine. We are downsizing. We sold our home and are in the process of a move right now, so things are good.
Oh, wow. We're gonna have a barbecue then.
I don't know.
You forgot the important question.
We're gonna get another place. Right now it is. What we did is we sold our home, and we moved. We're renting for 1 year to figure out what we're gonna do. So with what I do, I can live anywhere, and so we're just gonna try to figure out what that looks like. So
Wow, that's awesome.
we live real close, about 1.5 miles from where we used to live. So life's good. Very supportive wife. Been very blessed there. Blessed with great children. We've been a part of this church since 1990. It's been a very good experience. We've met very good people, and it's a big part of our lives.
You aren't contemplating leaving Atlanta, are you?
We're thinking, we don't know. That's why we did exactly what we did, is because we just don't know. And so we figured rather than rush into something, we would take 12 months, kind of think about it, and decide literally with cell phones and
Yeah, yeah.
computers and go-to meetings in an airport, I can work, I can really be anywhere. So likely no, because we're children, we'll probably want to stay close to them. But because we're from Texas, my father is 84, my mom's 81. They're in good health. My dad had a scare with prostate cancer recently, had his prostate removed. He's got a clean bill of health, but 84. Anna's parents are in their 80s. They're healthy, so, you know, do we want to spend more time there? So we're kind of going through all these questions right now, but we'll figure it out. We don't have a gun to our head and make a decision.
Before I get started, apparently Brian got the text from Eric about picking up the coffee, just misunderstood.
Yeah. He meant for everybody, right?
It's so good. I'll tell you.
I haven't put my
Next time.
sugar in there. Just make it faster.
My name is Boyd Johnson. Personally, I came to Atlanta right out of school in the mid-'80s. I committed malpractice for 2 years in law before I got into commercial real estate business. I've been in there ever since. I started my own business with an investment company about 15 years ago, buying small office buildings, small warehouses, and have enjoyed that, you know, thoroughly. Got 3 kids. They are all out of school. Remained married to my first wife. We're going to celebrate 30 years this year. So the kids are all out on their own now. And as you, I'm sure have heard that, you know, you've got this empty nest syndrome, and my wife and I clearly poured a lot into our kids. It's a big part of us growing up. And so, you know, there's some emotional challenge with, you know, you hear about emotional challenge with kids leaving. And I can tell you from personal experience that I have no idea what those people are talking about. The kids got out, my wife and I went on a 9-month road trip, and we've really loved it. But I am in that transition stage where work is slowing down and trying to kind of figure out what I want to do, you know, with extra time that I didn't have so much of, you know, a few years ago. So it's interesting to kind of go through that thought process. I started coming here really not too long after it first started, back when it was Hall of Apostles. Interestingly enough, I left because I couldn't take Ken Boa's stream of consciousness. And I went and did another Bible study for years, and then I've come back, and I've got where I really look forward to that. It's interesting, I guess your perspective is a little bit differently, but I loved, what was it, a great line that Hayes had a couple of weeks ago, is rabbit holes have rabbit holes. And I just love listening to them rattle down those things. So I really enjoyed this group. I look forward to it on Friday morning. And, you know, one of the things that I enjoy about it is it exposed me to people otherwise I probably wouldn't, you know, come across. And I very enjoyed getting to know people, and as well as people are kind of different age, you know, at different age levels. And so that I think adds a great kind of character to the group.
My name is Gary Burke. Been coming now for 3 years this year. And I'm a father of 4 daughters. My oldest is 31. My youngest is 23. Well, I say 4 and a half sometimes, because I have a young lady that we took in 4 years ago that's now a junior at the University of West Georgia. I have a little church. I'm a pastor of a church down in yes, with South Atlanta, but it's Lakewood Heights, the Lakewood Heights community. It's Lakewood Church of Hope. So I've been a pastor there. We started the church 5 years ago. And he's not here today, but Steve Knapp has been there ever since. You know, he started, actually. And I remember one Sunday after the service, he came up to me because I had preached about the universe in service. And he was like, "You need to come to this Friday Bible class, Bible study that I go to." I said, "Sure." So So he told me what it was and who it was, so I looked Ken up and, you know, just kind of said to myself, that might be pretty interesting. And so I came out and, you know, pretty much have been here ever since. I went to Alcorn State University. I'm originally from Florida. Went to Alcorn State University in Mississippi in 1986 out of high school, so a little over 30 years ago. Played football in high school and played football in college. But I ended up transferring, so I took a tour of college, like some people take a tour of duty in the military. I went from Alcorn State University to Jacksonville State University to Miles College over in Birmingham, where I graduated from eventually. And at that time, I, you know, knew that I was a young, poor kid, ended up selling drugs, ended up going to prison in my older years after I had left that world alone, and started to see just the plight of the things that I had done, kind of what I had put out there in the universe. So I said I need to go back and help create, you know, fix some of the things that I helped mess up. So me becoming a pastor, I think, is kind of God's way of saying, this is the way we help fix up what you messed up. Kind of like our military does when we go tear up a country, we send the convoy in to go fix up what we tore up. So I'm kind of on that train now, trying to fix up what I tore up. And been married for 23 years and with my wife for a little more than 30. So.
I'm Ty Tippett. I'm one of the newer people in the group, and I'm looking forward to getting to know people in here better. I was exposed to Ken Boa a few years ago at the lodge over at Peachtree Press, and considering one of the smartest people I've ever met. If he ever came to a civic group to speak, the topic I would give him would be anything you want to talk about. I've been at Peachtree Road. I came here to sing in the choir. I've been here almost 7 years. I was for 40 years at Decatur First Methodist before becoming Peachtree. I came to Atlanta after graduating from Davidson to go to Emory Law School, practiced law a lot of years here in Atlanta, and last 15 years I've been in the nonprofit world for many years at Shepherd Center as the director of Plain Giving, and ran the foundation at DeKalb Medical for a while, and now am working 3 days a week at the foundation of Wesley Woods, helping senior adults. Just went to my 50th high school reunion. Had 2 kids, a 34-year-old son in St. Simon's, who's a small business consultant employed by the University of Georgia, with 3 small daughters he has, and is the pianist at St. Simon's Methodist. My daughter here in Atlanta has worked the last 6 years with immigrants and refugees here in Atlanta. Was married for 31 years to a lovely lady, and got surprised after that time. I've been divorced for almost 8 years now. I have a great relationship with her. Everybody's good, but it's one of those surprises in life that you never saw coming. But everybody's good, and I'm still trying to figure this life out. So if anybody ever does call me collect, then I'll accept the charges.
Jeff Wansley. I do go to Peachtree Road Methodist, which is how I ended up here. And how I ended up at Peachtree Road Methodist, it's so funny to hear other people talk about all the churches they visit. I lived in D.C. for a while and moved back to Atlanta in what we call the crack shack over on Alberta Street with a bunch of guys. And always, I grew up Methodist. Actually